Here is another battle vid with my Zekeel's deck getting prepped for regionals this weekend. In this deck I see his username Ice Queen, and yes, it is pronounced like that. And so I'm thinking I might face a Vanillix deck. As you will see, I'm completely wrong. And if I remember this game right, I believe I misplay a lot, or I take risky moves. I think that was more of it. I take riskier moves, and I do believe I lose this one. But again, this was I recorded this maybe 3 or 4 days ago, so hard to say. So he flips over the cards. I see I'm not facing a Vanillix deck, and I'm facing probably a Zekeel's deck with Tornadus instead of Thunderous. Tornadus' advantage, while it's terrible in the mirror match, is great for fighting decks because it does have that fighting resistance. So he's going to capture up my Zekrom, meaning that I can't portrait, and then end away my collector and switch. So that's going to hurt me on the first turn. I see the little speaker thing come up above his head, so I pull up in the game room just to see if he's there, but he's not. So my hand doesn't actually look that bad now. He did get me back into the collector and the switch, so at least I can portrait, hoping for something, and hopefully he drew on those 6 cards a supporter. So I'm going to first start off by playing my collector in case I have to Juniper with the Smeargle. And here I'm trying to decide, I do have attacker on the field. Do I go for the Terrakion before I can really get it set up? I do have the fighting energy in hand, but still not quite sure where I should go. So I'm definitely going for a double Dynamo, and I end up going with a triple Dynamo just because I know he's played one catcher. Chances are he has a junk arm, and he's going to be able to start pulling up those Dynamos. So I want to at least get 1 on the field, so I need 2. But I also want a good chance of getting possibly 2 on the field, which is only way to make that happen is if I have 3 available. So I'm going to portrait right now. And yep, there is a Juniper, so there goes an Eel, a Junk Arm, Mewtwo, and a Fighting. Not that big a deal. And looks like a still pretty good hand. I'm going to attach the Lightning for the turn. I do have an Eel still in hand, as well as a Sky Arrow, but since I've already I'm not in a position to attack, there's no point in me playing the Sky Arrow and possibly helping him. So, yeah, I'm questioning whether I should have played that fighting energy. That was probably a mistake not playing the fighting, because the only way to recover that is with a Super Rod. So it looks like he's going to use that Juniper after evolving to Eel. And we'll see what he gets. I say, so far his field is fairly empty. Neither one of us has been able to attack yet. But that certainly doesn't mean much, especially in the early stages of the game while we're just getting set up. Looking at my hand, the lack of energy is really the only thing that bothers me. I can get an Eel up, but that's really not going to help me out when I have no energy or lightning energy in the discard pile to be able to use. So, again, this is where I'm really thinking that I should have attached that fighting energy for the turn, because that would have given me the lightning energy in hand last turn to be able to throw it out with and do a Dynamotor. So it looks like he took back that Junk Arm. I check his discard pile. I hate that it glitches and just puts him upside down. Throws out 2 lightning energy, which is great because he can easily get those back with Dynamotor, and flips the double heads on Dual Ball, which is fair because he did flip a double tails earlier. So probability wins out, and I'm assuming he's going to go for another Dynamo and possibly another attacker, and he goes for the Mewtwo. So it looks like he's going to start, knowing that I've already had to discard 1 Mewtwo, he's going to start a Mewtwo war, which is not good for me when I don't have the energy to really recover fast with. So he's going to Dynamotor 1 onto the Mewtwo and then has to pass. So, yeah, I was really hoping I would draw an energy, but unfortunately no. Going to use my switch to get back to my Smeargle. Gonna go ahead and evolve one of my Dynamos. And then I realized that I just kind of picked a random Dynamo thinking it didn't matter, but realized that I do have the, I did not want to evolve the 40 HP in case he does run Tyrogue. And so I evolved one of the 30 HP instead, and I can always retreat that other Dynamo back with Sky Arrow if it's just captured up to try and stall. My hand really just does not look good, so I'm going to capture that electric just to stall for a little while. I'll go ahead and play the dual ball because if I don't portrait a Pont or something like that, I'm going to have to throw away the Juniper. So since he's got one Mewtwo benched, I'm going to bench a Mewtwo as well and just hope that I portrait something decent and we can get this, I can get it whirling. So portrait, and I portraited Juniper. So no, not that big a deal since I was going to have to Juniper anyways, but I'm hoping I pull into something good. So, I was really hoping that if I was going to pull a Lightning, I would have the, a Junk Arm to get it into the discard pile with, but unfortunately, no go. So, I'm going to go ahead and get a second Eel into play. And again, I don't know why I'm evolving the 40 HP. I could always use that later on. And here I'm like, well, I want to attach the DCE to Mewtwo, but that just opens me up for a catcher. Yeah, I could attach the Lightning, but I still would like to get that in the discard pile somehow to Dynamotor. So right now I'm going to play the Super Rod to get the Eel, the last Eel, and the Fighting back in the deck. Play a Pokegear, and fail it. So failing that Pokegear really, really hurts. So I'm going to attach the Lightning to the Zekrom, and just so he can't easily capture up that Mewtwo and knock it out. And we'll retreat and just do an Outrage. Just to whittle away down at his HP. Can always discard that Lightning on my next turn to retreat and be able to Dynamotor an all-in Mewtwo, attach DCE from my hand, and get a Mewtwo knockout. But he catches up Mewtwo, powers up another Eel, which tells me he's got, even with no energy on my Mewtwo, he's just going to load up all the energy on his Mewtwo and knock me out. And unfortunately, unless I can portrait a supporter, there's nothing I can do. So, it looks like my hope of benching a Mewtwo, just so I don't have to discard it, or well, really well, just to get it out, it was not a good idea. So there's a second Mewtwo on the bench, just for a little intimidation. And we know we don't know he has a switch. He's banking on drawing into that switch with the Juniper. But we'll see if he was able to pull it off. And well, basically what he has to do to knock me out is, I don't know what energy he has attached to the Mewtwo now, but he's got a double Dynamotor onto Mewtwo to get 5 energy, or I believe 4 energy with a plus power. So he attaches with Dynamotor the energy on the Mewtwo, which I think is a little bit odd, and passes. So, play a Sage, and, yeah, not good at all. So, really needed a switch. Yeah, I just really needed something. So I'm going to go with the DCE and the Pont, ensuring that I have a supporter for next turn. Going to go ahead and Dynamotor onto the Zekrom. And while I hate to do it, I'm going to have to attach to Mewtwo and then discard that. Oh, I don't do that. Okay, so that was not a smart play. What I should have done is just throw out the DCE to retreat, go to Zekrom, Bolt Strike, knock out the Eel. I only take 1 prize, and I have to waste a DCE, but that doesn't leave my Mewtwo vulnerable. I couldn't get a knockout on the Eel with the X-Ball, so there really was no point in doing that. So that was a huge misplay there, and that if I remember how this game ends, that's probably what cost me the game. Because having that energy on Mewtwo means he doesn't need to load up all his energy on one Mewtwo to knock me out, making him very vulnerable. And so he's going to Juniper again for another fresh hand of 7. Looks like he throws out a couple Bianca, which is a little odd to run in a deck, but I have seen Bianca used successfully in decks before by excellent players, so, can't really say much about it. So he attaches the DCE to retreat, brings up the Mewtwo, and with only 2 energy on Mewtwo, he has to have the plus power in order to knock me out, and there it is. So, if I had not done that misplay, it would have been interesting to see if this game would have been a little bit closer. So, gonna go ahead and put up my Smeargle. I have no lightning energy. I have no lightning energy in the discard pile at all. So, here I probably should have attached the DCE to Zekrom EX and just get ready, but I think I was afraid of him pulling it up somehow and just loading up energy and knocking it out. I really don't know why I thought that, but yeah. Again, that was probably another misplay, because that would have been a secondary attacker other than my Zekrom. So, gonna go ahead and get out a 3rd eel, which does not seem to matter in this game because I've only Dynamotored once. I just can't seem to get energy in the discard pile. So, I'm gonna go ahead and Portrait, and I see 2 N and a Bianca. Bianca isn't going to do me very good. That will only allow me to draw 1 card, so I'm going to go ahead and N, bring his hand size down to 4, bring my hand size, fresh hand size up to 8, and hopefully pull something useful. And I don't. Was really hoping for the Mewtwo. Not that I could get a return knockout on it because I don't have any energy. I would have had to have a Mewtwo, Lightning, DCE, and a Junk Arm, and that's just a lot to ask. So I am going to put a little bit of damage onto that Mewtwo, though, with a Bolt Strike, knowing he's really going to easily return the knockout. But it's really the only thing I can do right now. And luckily, when he knocks it out, that will give me some Dynamotor options. And I can at least knock out the Mewtwo. But unfortunately, yeah, that once he takes out that Zekrom, he's going to have a 3 prize card lead. And that's just going to be a lot for me to try and come back from. So, now he also has 3 electric in play. And what he does is he retreats back to the bench and brings out a fresh Mewtwo. This is an excellent play because now I can't one-shot him unless I have another Mewtwo. And that's going to force me to come up with my own Mewtwo, which puts the prize count, which if he retaliates, is going to put the prize count out up even closer. So, here I see my opportunity, dual ball, I do get a heads, gonna pull out my own Mewtwo and get a return knockout. But after that, he has the resources available to knock out my Mewtwo, so I honestly don't, with the cards in my hand, unless I could just guarantee that I would run into another catcher to be able to bring up the damage Mewtwo, or something like that to be able to take it out with a weaker attacker. I'm not sure if there's really something else I could have done in this situation. Again, my misplay earlier was my biggest screw up. So I triple Dynamotor, putting 2 energy on the Mewtwo, which is all I need, and 2 energy onto the Zekrom. Going to go ahead and get a fresh hand, and I wouldn't have had the catcher anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and I should have checked how many cards I had in my deck. I probably should have portraited, because if I had a Juniper, or if I portraited Juniper, that would not have been terrible. So I do get a return knockout on the Mewtwo, take 2 prizes, bring the prize count up to 4-3, but he's got the return knockout with that Mewtwo. It's yeah. And unfortunately, I don't have a return. And so then this is what surprised me. He runs 3 Mewtwo in his deck. So there is the 3rd Mewtwo. And at this point, I don't know if there's anything I could do. I can bring up another Mewtwo to knock out his. Although he does have some damage on him. So bring up another attacker would be alright. But I still don't have a way to get those last 2 prizes. I think I do remember misplaying later on in this game again, so you'll see what happens. I don't quite remember the details, but you'll see what happens. So he plays a plus power, so he doesn't have to attach another energy, and knocks it out. So now the prize count down 4-2, not looking good for me. I'm going to go ahead and put out my Smeargle. And so, lots of options here. Definitely going to just toss out those 2 lightning, because I can easily re-Dynamotor them on. Before I do that, I'm just double checking what I have available. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going for. A catcher really doesn't do me any good right now. I need to take out the Mewtwo. And I can take out the Mewtwo with Zekrom. That's not a big deal. I don't know why I'm tossing out a Smeargle when I have the energy in hand to attach, so there's a smaller misplay. Okay, I'm going for the Super Rod. That's what I'm going for. Which is a good play. But again, I should have tossed out the 2 lightning. So, putting both Mewtwo and Terrakion back in the deck. Going to play the Dual Ball. Or not. Should be playing the Dual Ball. And going for a Mewtwo. Well, here's my problem, is if I go for a Mewtwo, he can easily just Dynamotor twice and knock me out. So actually, I can't go for the Mewtwo. Hit the Dual Ball, hit a double Tails. So that's disappointing, because I need another attacker. And yeah, just not a good thing there. So I played the Zekrom, which I don't agree with. That, I think with the Dual Ball, I was hoping maybe for a Terrakion. It'd be a little more difficult for him to take out in one shot. And, yeah, I would have had the resources with that fighting energy in hand to do it, to be able to work with that. So, again, I don't know why I'm focusing on the Zekrom. Because I still need to take out 2 prizes. He has no supporters in hand, but he's got 2 Switch and a Junk Arm. And that Junk Arm is really what's most important, because that Junk Arm gives him options to everything. And, yeah, I can't take out anything with the Zekrom on the bench. And I really, yeah, this is where my second misplay comes in, because putting that Zekrom there and loading it up with the energy means all he has to do is have a couple of energy on Mewtwo, catcher it up, and that's the game. So, giving him that option was a huge mistake. Because he's so ahead, though, I honestly don't know if it would have made any difference, but with 2 mistakes, that's not good. I attach an energy from my hand, and then I'm going to Strong Volt. Yeah, because he's got... Oh, I end up Strong Volting, even though I can knock him out with the Glinting Claw, just to get less energy, but to give me still enough that I can retreat. That way he can't take a knockout on the Zekrom. Take 2 prizes, and at least, considering with 2 severe misplays, I was able to get the prize count down, 2-1, is not bad. But still, I knew he had the Junk Arm in hand. I know he has a Dynamotor. He's going to Junk Arm for the catcher, bring up the Zekrom, and knock it out. So that was just a huge screw-up. I essentially gave him the game with that move. So we'll go ahead and Junk Arm. You see him Junk Arm. Really, anything. Doesn't matter. And there's the catcher. Just seeing if he had said anything all game. Yeah, he needs 4 energy attached to the Mewtwo to knock out the Zekrom. Or really 4 energy attached to the Mewtwo to knock out the Smeargle. So actually, well, maybe while that Zekrom was a misplay, he could have done the same thing to the Smeargle. with 4 energy attached to him, he could have just captured up the Smeargle. So really, while that was a big misplay, there was nothing I could do. I think it was that misplay early in the game that really lost that match. So, excellent match though. He's got a great deck, and running 3 Mewtwo while, it does really mean that you win the Mewtwo war. It's just a little riskier and obviously much more expensive. And finding the room for it is can be a little more difficult too. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, excellent match.